Hello. Um, so I am in this car for reasons that will remain mysterious. And I brought along this book, The Nature of Consciousness, a Hypothesis by Susan Pocket. So this is a divergence from our normal Swan's Way material, but a divergence that I'm excited about. So I'm going to read just a bit of The Nature of Consciousness. Introduction. Aim of this book: History of the Atomic Theory of Matter, Ancient Views about Consciousness, a hypothesis on the nature of consciousness. Aim of this book. The aim of this book is to lay the foundation stone for a scientific theory of the nature of conscious experience. When I first started thinking seriously on this question about 5 years ago, I had no clue as to what such a theory would look like. All I did know that was in order to be counted as scientific, it would have to have certain characteristics. It would have to fit all the available empirical evidence on the relationship of consciousness to the brain. It would probably have to be potentially falsifiable by new experimental evidence, although the theory of evolution, which must be one of the most successful scientific theories of all time, sits rather uneasily within that criterion. And most daunting of all, it would probably have to involve some sort of new fundamental principle about the universe. These seemed fairly onerous requirements. However, being a New Zealander and thus imbued from childhood with the notion that I was a rugged individualist who could fix anything with a piece of number 8 fencing wire, I was not as daunted by these obstacles as a more socialized person might have been, and simply made a start somewhere. On the principle that successful strategies can often be generalized, it seemed that a successful way to begin might be to look at the development of a successful theory in another area of science. Perhaps this would afford some ideas about how to proceed in the present case. Since what I was trying to build was a theory of the nature of mind, I decided that the currently accepted theory on the nature of matter might be a good starting point. So I began by taking a look at the history of the atomic theory. History of the atomic theory of matter. It turned out that the idea that matter is composed of atoms was first put forward by the Greek philosopher Leucippus and his pupil Democritus. Democrat. Us. Around 450 BC. These thinkers were concerned to explain the observed fact that material objects change, while at the same time preserving a certain faith in the permanence of things that are real. Their speculation was that the universe consists of ultimate, indivisible atoms, each of them hard, permanent, and unchangeable, of one homogeneous substance, but of various shapes and sizes. The atoms of fire, for example, were postulated to be smooth spheres. Atoms were conceived of being in constant motion, vibrating and whirling, though sometimes fitted together in stable combinations. All the variety of the universe was seen as resulting from the differences in size, shape, position, order, and motion of these atoms of a single substance. It must be said that this was an inspired and brilliant speculation. However, it was philosophical rather than scientific in the sense in which we now understand science. It was subject to defeat of an almost political nature by other philosophical ideas. Plato and Aristotle did not much like it, and its popularity declined until by about 200 BC, atomism as a philosophy was pretty much dead. The writings of Epicurus 341 through 270 BC, were influential in preserving the idea, however, as were those of Asclepiades. I'm very bad at Greek. A Greek physician in Rome who ascribed disease to alterations in the size, arrangement, and motion of atoms in the body. Lucretius, 85 to 55 BC, what a short life, whose poem Durarum Natura eloquently expressed the Democritan doctrine, was another supporter. Atomistic ideas rose again a century or so later in India. The notion was probably independently conceived, although Kannada, the traditional name of whoever wrote the Hindu Vaisesika Sutras, probably sometime during the first 2 centuries AD, might have heard of Greek ideas on the subject. In any case, Vaisesika philosophy is explicitly atomistic. Unlike the myriad of Greek atoms, however, Kannada's atoms were conceived to be of only 4 different types: earth, water, fire, and air, and thus the 4 tribes. Sorry. They were imagined as uniting to form dyads, triads, and so on, building up to give rise to the universe.